Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to The Law. This is your legal light. It is your health law. I'm your host, Samson Ladi Anyenini. And this afternoon, we are discussing the topic is community sentencing punishment. Very controversial, and it's intended to provoke a certain understanding of the ends of criminal law to correct what is a typical but inaccurate mindset, particularly in our part of the world where people believe that putting people in jail is the way to punish them. So in this discussion, we are seeking to educate on the various forms of punishment for convicts. That's once you are convicted by a court of having committed a certain offense, including the most important part and purpose of the criminal law or criminal justice process, which is reformation. Reformation. Some say rehabilitation. So we will look at why there appears to be some preference for custodial sentencing in Ghana. This week, I heard a story I felt really bad about. A man who had been sentenced to 5 years in jail tried to reduce the sentence or actually overturn the conviction that sent him to jail for 5 years. Unfortunately, his appeal ended by increasing the punishment by another 5 years. At the time that his appeal was being heard, he had already served his 5 years. So if he was successful, or without being successful with the appeal, he was going to go home. Unfortunately, by his own appeal, he had been caught going back to jail for 5 more years. Why the preference for custodial sentencing in Ghana and much of Africa? In a situation where the prisons are congested, people are feeding on 1 cedi, 80 pesos, less than 2 cedis a day. The cost to the state, and there is also evidence of people going to prison and instead of reforming, come back worse. Community sentencing, is that the way to go? Welcome to The Law.
Of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. No person shall be convicted of a criminal offence unless the offence is defined and the penalty for it is prescribed in a written law. Article 11 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. No person shall be convicted of a criminal offence unless the offence is defined and the penalty for it is prescribed in a written law.
You're welcome back. This is The Law. It's your legal light. It's your health law. And you just have watched and listened to The Law 101. That's the segment that we believe that by the end of the show, if you forget everything else that, you know, every education that came your way, you don't forget The Law 101. And The Law 101 today is taken from Article 19 and Clause 11 of Article 19. So as we always do, we give our guests a minute to explain what that provision is so that it is etched in your mind. You never forget it. no person shall be convicted of a criminal offense unless the offense is defined and the penalty for it is prescribed in a written law. My guest this afternoon, Martin Kpebu, he is lawyer and rights activist. Esther Ahulu is programs manager, the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative Africa Office, and public education and advocacy specialist, USAID JSS activity. We were to be joined also by Ibrahim Opong Kwating, Executive Director, Crime Check Foundation, Ambassador Extraordinaire of the Ghana Prisons Service, but he's unable to join us now. Thank you very much for making time to join us.
My pleasure, sir.
Right. Great. So, Martin, what does this particular provision of the Constitution mean, Article 19, Clause 11?
Okay, so basically, it's to make sure that at a point that anybody is being convicted, before his conviction, there was a conduct that was prohibited by law. So you see that, so the whole idea is to make sure that as part of rule of law, before you say that Mr. A, having taken this pen from Samson's pocket, has committed stealing, it should be said that before he took that pen, there was an offense on the statute called stealing. Okay. And then the penalty for it also in law. So that it cannot be that it's after Samson, Mr. A has finished taking the pen, then you rush and go and make a law. No. So that's why they say, another way of saying it is that there's no retroactive legislation or retroactive legislation. So don't make the offense after the act. That's just to clarify one part of it. It's such a huge area. Let's use a second other area and then maybe we'll wrap up since we are not doing full lectures on law.
That's right.
Another thing too is that the conduct, sometimes you find that there's some conduct on the statute books, but it has not been made in the form of a crime. So let's be specific this way. So in law, we say that there is the offense creating statute or provision. So there has to be a conduct which is prescribed. So the example that we gave, the law will say that a person shall not steal. Then the law will explain what is stealing.
All
so
right.
A person shall not steal.
Right.
Or he who steals commits an offense.
Okay.
So that's the offense creating provision. So there has to be a prohibition in law, like Austin says, which when you breach on pain of punishment.
Right.
That's the whole idea. So the other one that's so popular in our law is, you see, prior to Kpebu number 1, there was this issue of forfeiture. You know, somebody goes to the police station to stand surety for an accused or a suspect. Then the suspect absconds. So under Section 104 of the Act 30,
the Criminal Offences Act.
And other offense, that's a procedure act.
Procedure.
We used to convict them. 6 months. Some people go and come and then their jobs are taken away. Okay, their lives shattered. So one day, as practicing at the bar, I saw it and said, but this is an offense, read that, blah, blah. Fast forward, long story short, we went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court looked at it and said, no way. If somebody absconds, you sign the bail bond. So the prosecution should go to court and restrict it. That's to say, the bail bond, when you sign, they will indicate 5,000, 10,000, whatever figure. So it's a contract.
Right.
So if somebody breaches the contract, go to court and then ask that he pays, but not that send him to jail. So you see that's a class in Ghana, that's the biggest.
So that's the overriding basis. The education here is that nobody must put you in a situation of seeking to punish you, especially in a court where there is no offense that is created by law, and the punishment that you are being given is not a punishment that is created by law. So if you have done something somebody is unhappy about, but that thing is not expressed in a written law as a crime, and there is no penalty prescribed for it in the written law, you cannot be held and be punished for it.
Perfect.
So he sat down one day looked at a situation where people were being put into jail for not making sure that the people they came to stand surety for in court did not run away. So I am in trouble. We go to the court. They say, I need somebody to stand surety for me. I fall on Esther to stand surety for me. She signs what is called as a bail bond. That if I abscond, she will be responsible for paying the amount that has been put there. Or if my property was used to secure, her property was used to secure my freedom, she may lose that property.
Excellent.
So what was going on was that once I abscond, they go and arrest Esther. I say, where is Samson? Esther says, I can't find him. It's okay, cool, come, you, go to jail because you came and stood surety for Samson and you have allowed Samson to run away. So Martin went to court on his own as a lawyer. He felt that that thing was wrong. Most of us had gone to court to fight for our clients in that way. But he decided that it had to be done to affect everybody else. So he went to court, and the court saw that there is no law making, Esther guilty of a crime for not ensuring that I stay and don't run away.
Excellent.
And that she cannot be put into jail because I have run away and she's my guarantor. All that can be done to her is that there is some money that the bail stated she will be made to pay. If she used her property to secure my freedom, that property will now be gone into, as it were, if you like, sold to sort of pay for that bail. So nothing is an offense unless it is in a written law and the penalty for it has also been prescribed. The president said we should wear face mask. He started saying it before a law was made. Until the law was made, all the people who were whipping people around and they were all committing crimes. They rather were going to be punished, and not the people who were not wearing the mask. Right. I hope...
yeah, that's excellent.
Yes, it helps.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good.
Right. So we want you to listen and watch to some people that we spoke to on the streets of Accra as to whether or not they feel that community service or sentencing is a form of punishment.
When it comes to petty, commitment of crimes or sin, depending on the magnitude of it, it shouldn't be everything that everyone should be jailed, you understand? Back in the US where we see some courts or some judges giving the prediction that someone should have a community service like cleaning, removing the gutters. I think when such thing is also here in Ghana to help. Because someone may be stealing something small at least. When he's given the sentence, probably he wouldn't go back and do it. So it's not everything that should be like a jailed matter.
Oh, okay, to me, I think they should not be jailed. They should be allowed to do some services in the community. Because if you look at our community, we have so many areas we need help, like the environment, sanitation, and all these places. They can be allowed to clear the bush, pick the gutters, or those kind of things in order to just keep our community going, rather than jailing them, because most of them also have families they have to take care of. So these things will really help them.
Okay, so with my point of view, I think they should be punished. Yeah, so that maybe next time they won't do that again. But taking them to jail, I don't think it's fair, because there are so many people in this country that are even doing more than that person did, but they still get away with it. So I think the best thing is for him or for that person to be punished. To my point of view, the person should be maybe allowed to maybe sweep the gutters or maybe weed that farm. Yeah, so I think that is the best.
If that's a fair idea, you can let the person sweep the street or something. That's community sentencing. It's a better way to do it than making the person go to jail, spend a whole year in prison or something like that. I think it's a fair idea to be like that.
Right. So let me put my first question to Esther Ahulu. What do you make of the responses that you heard on the streets?
Okay. Thank you very much, Samson. In fact, I'm very happy to hear all the responses that we got from the streets, because I was thinking that with our history of lynching and all that sort, people wouldn't be in favor of community sentencing. But from what I've heard so far, it means that Ghana is actually ready for that practice to be held in Ghana. So I'm so much happy about that.
It also means that you have been doing your work very well.
Yes.
And the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative and the other NGOs, including Crime Check, including CDD, who have been at the forefront of ensuring that Ghana moves away from this put the person in jail, put the person in jail thing. It means you are doing a good work.
I'm happy to hear this. Thank you.
All right. So this discussion is actually facilitated by the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative. And it's part of the USAID Justice Sector Support JSS activity. And the activity is being implemented by 4 organizations. That is the Legal Resources Center, the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative Africa Office, Crime Check Foundation, and Interregional Bridge Group, with funding support from the USAID. I discovered that Martin also seemed to have expressed some surprise when you heard the people say what they said.
Oh, yes, so pleasantly. It was a pleasant surprise in the way. Then I quickly remembered that, in the past, I think we had done a program, something like that. Oh, you remember the guy who was convicted for stealing something, I think about a year,
yes,
about 2 years ago.
Baba.
Baba, and then, on that program, a lot of people.
He stole some plantain, and his excuse was that his wife had just delivered.
Excellent.
And he needed to assist with food.
Excellent.
And he didn't have money.
Yeah.
And so yourself, Samuel Kujeto, and one other assisted.
Yes.
We mobilized money.
Yourself.
And we paid for him not to be put into jail. And we bought him a set of, barbering kits, got him a new barbering salon, and he started his job back.
Excellent. And I remember, I think some people also from outside contributed, outside Ghana also.
There's a barbering salon that actually brought a whole set for us.
Excellent, yes. So the point is that on that program, you see that people express the opinion that no, such a person should not go to jail. And there are other examples. So it tells you, and actually I can say that, look, I remember being a kid and this matter being discussed on TV. Yeah, I was barely 10 years old. I saw it. They showed other countries where people were made to sweep the streets. And it tells you, Sam, that we've had education over all these years, but the thing is that we haven't had enough push. You see, so we push like this program 2-3 days, then we go to sleep because there's no funding. Often, I think that's one of the critical problems. It's funding, because you need a sustained education. And then, of course, go and help put together a bill, the Attorney General's chambers, they go to cabinet and all that. So you need funding, because this current one, Justice for All, Jonathan, Post Foundation. They went around the country to sensitize people. I remember that was 2019 or so, 18 or 19. They went around the whole country with the bill, came back, then it was taken to the AGs, from AGs to cabinet, then somewhere it got lost, all that.
We will actually get there. The Attorney General's department will be here on this show.
Perfect.
And they will be able to share a lot more with us about what is going on.
Excellent.
So tell us, people say the purpose of criminal justice is to punish. If you are advocating for people to be given community sentence and they should not be put into jail, what punishment are you giving them?
Great. Okay. So we'll do a bit, we'll not go too much into the theories. When we say punishment, going to jail is not the only form of punishment at all. Of course, if you go a bit into criminal law, they will tell you that there are 2 main theories. There's the retributive, where you want to punish. You hear even in the Bible, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.
That's retributive.
Yes, that's to say we'll punish you for what you've done. Or you hear our favorite Professor Mensa Bonsu, it's like, we are giving you your just desserts. Okay, you've killed somebody, we'll also kill you. Okay, that's it. But we've seen with time that, and there are other theories, I'm coming to that, it doesn't solve the problem. Because, you know, we've had the death penalty on our statute books. And day in, day out, people are still murdering and manslaughter and the rest. So it tells you that the fact that you want to do retributive, or let's say vengeance, let's call it vengeance, doesn't mean that crimes will stop. So that's one part, and I'm sure that's what those who say, if you don't send him to jail, then it's no punishment. Then it means they are most likely thinking of the retributive, the vengeance one. There is also the utilitarian, okay? So where we are looking at doing it in such a way that it will bring the greatest happiness to the greatest majority. So under the utilitarian theory, we can have reformation. So those who are saying if you don't go to jail, then that's no punishment, please. There's reformation, which is one of the main areas of the utilitarian theories. So what we do is that, and under our law, even from the 1961, Act 30, I think I took the 29, under Section 296, you see the various forms of punishment. So we have well, the Okunini, death penalty.
Right.
So there is death, there is imprisonment, and then when it comes to juveniles, there is detention. So when it's a juvenile, we don't say imprisonment, we say detention. Okay. Then there is fine. Then there is liability to police supervision. You see it? So these are the various things. So if somebody, like the gentleman the barber who stole the plantain, how can you say such a man should go to jail? And as Sam, you rightly stated, painfully, the prison service is being forced to feed them on 1 cedi 80 pesos. It's been like that for how many? 5 or so years. Yeah. They are struggling. So it's so inhuman.
When it was improved.
Excellent. It's so inhuman. And I remember Justice Doche, we had to come to the Supreme Court. You know, he's been crying over this since. He says, look, you read some of the judgment. I remember, is it Robertson or Howie versus the Republic? He says, look, I know the conditions in the Ghanaian prison. I think it's Robertson, who was a diabetic patient and also amputee. Yeah, so when the case went to the Supreme Court, the majority enhanced it. The Court of Appeal reduced it to 12 years. The trial judge gave 15 narcotics. Okay. Court of Appeal brought it to 12 years. And then the AG went on further appeal. And they sought to enhance it. Doche said, no, you don't need to enhance it. This man is terribly sick. And I'm interested in the prison conditions. And you see, if you follow Justice Doche, almost all the judgments, have I left the most recent ones? Okay. Oh dear. It's called Amankwa, Kingsley Amankwa, for the lawyers who are, listen, if you get the monthly law reports, or maybe when there's a break, I can rush into the car and bring the monthly law reports, the most recent one. You see Kingsley Amankwa versus the Republic. Doche put in the comment, I'm tired of complaining that we need to reform the sentencing regime. Look at the UK one. This is just one of the volumes. Sentencing guidelines. Look at it. It's even bigger than the whole of our Act 29 and 30 put together. This is just one volume. There are others in the house. You see it. So you see that sentencing is a different area altogether. We need to, sometimes you see, but we've done some bits and pieces, because when it comes to the special prosecutor, there's some corruption offenses. Yeah. We've given space for plea bargaining, so that if the person pleads guilty and he will pay, he avoids a jail term. Right. Remember, the most famous example is Lawyer Lassie, the venture capital case. Okay. Lawyer Lassie, they went to court and they agreed to pay. So he's avoided a jail term. And then you also did the case, the National Service.
That's right.
Yes, so you see, these ones that are millions of Ghana cedis, you can return and go home. Yet a barber steals plantain and he should go for 6 months.
You return with interest.
Yes, but you get opportunity to go. And yet somebody steals 1,000 Ghana or an iPhone and they say, no, he should go to jail. Okay, so all of this show that when it comes to sentencing.
And I think we need to stress something before people misunderstand. That if that is what it is, I steal and return it and then I'm fine, then what's the point? It will not deter, we will continue to steal. That's not what it is.
Good.
You pay first with interest. There will be also a determination whether or not the state can use you to get other people who are committing that kind of offense, or the particular offense we are talking about, you are not the only one who committed it, but you have been caught. So can we get you to give us the secret, the information, how to get the other people?
Excellent.
So on the basis of that, we say pay interest, and then remember that you are convicted. You are convicted. There's a conviction on you as somebody who has committed this crime, except that you don't go to jail. So you pay interest on it, and then you go free. You could be used as a witness for the state. You testify for the state to help them to punish other people who have actually done, a lot of wrong. Right.
Yes, and Sam, let's quickly add before. Don't forget, your wife could leave you on conviction. Let's give a very typical example. George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter, the policeman in the U.S. The wife left him. In America, you see it a lot. But Ghana nowadays, it appears for the political class, the wives are not willing to leave the millions behind.
He has been convicted.
Yes.
I'm not interested in living with a convict.
Yes, excellent. And when we were growing up, that was the thing. One of the main things they said, hey, if you get involved in a crime, you are convicted, no woman will marry you. Then, yes. But now it looks like Ghana, we were a bit. But don't worry, as we are growing and copying the whites, I'm sure it will return that your wife will leave you.
But people know when you are going to seek for a job, and you have to make disclosures. Sometimes you have to go to get a police report, or you want to travel, you have to get a police report. You need to show that you have not committed an offense and have been convicted before. Otherwise, it affects your chances.
Excellent. And the whole of your family, your family is shamed. Let's not forget the naming and shaming. If we start, let's do like, what do you call it? Causing financial loss. From the first case of Ibrahim Adam and others versus the Republic. Look at certain ex-minister, Ibrahim Adam, Kwame Pepura, Sipayanki, name them. Ministers. And you think today their families are happy? It's a big look. Those, I can name a name. You see Abu Gafile, the recent one, the current, and others are before the court. Oh, I'm even remembering. You see Bafu Boni, Tetevi.
Yeah, that's very recent.
You see it. So on and on. So please don't take it for granted. When your family name, growing up, when they say your name, there's a saying about it. It's like,
good name is better than riches.
Excellent. So for those who are saying that, that means that they don't believe in it.
The conviction is a blot.
It's a blot.
A blight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Blot and blight.
Esther, why is this subject important in the first place? Community sentencing, in preference for throwing people in jail for committing offenses?
Okay. Samson, as you rightly said from the beginning, we've established that prisoners are being fed with 180 pesos a day. And then when you go to our prisons, the conditions in our prisons are very terrible. There's a lot of...
Something just came to mind. Sorry for interrupting. I was at the barber yesterday, and we're discussing how we cannot buy our cocoa 1 cedi anymore.
Excellent.
Just the cocoa 1 cedi.
Excellent.
At a point, they were not increasing it. But if you buy the 1 cedi, it was nothing.
Yes.
Now, you need to buy 2 cedis, or somebody was telling me you need to buy even more.
Good.
So if your breakfast, you need 2 cedis to have cocoa, just for only breakfast. Just the cocoa, not kose with bread. Just the cocoa. You need at least 2 cedis. How do you feed on 1 cedi 80 pesos morning, afternoon, evening? Yes, Esther, go on.
And not forget, it's not only about for feeding.
Right.
That 1 cedi 80 pesos is also for their medications, clothing, everything, water, everything is into the 1 cedi 80 pesos. So you can imagine what that money can be used for. Like you said, even now, how much is a bowl of kinky? So feeding each person with 1 cedi 80 pesos is totally inadequate.
But you have done wrong and we want to punish you. So you should suffer for it.
Of course, but the fact that the person is an offender doesn't mean that the person loses other human rights. You have the right to health. You have the right to, clean environment and all that. And that situation is not being achieved because of the congestion in prisons. When you go to prisons right now, you cannot imagine the number of people that a prison is holding as we speak now. There are lots of people as compared to the number that it was supposed to be used to kept in there. So the congestion is also bringing up a different problem altogether. So at the end of the day, we all know that, like you said, we are taking the person to prison to be punished. Now, and then we all know that the objective of taking somebody to prison is also not only for punishment, but also to reform the person, so that when the person comes out, he will be a better person. Now, because of the challenges that we have with our prisons as we speak now, you go there, people comes out, and they become worse. So at the end of the day, what have we achieved? So it's really not, it's not cost effective, in fact, to be keeping people who commit minor offenses in prison, as compared to, as it has been said, they offering some community service. Because at the end of the day, the state end up spending a lot of money on these people, whilst these people can also be with us at the community and pay for the whatever wrong that they've committed, pay back to the community. If you keep the person in prison, and then we end up feeding the person with our taxes, what do we achieve from that one? So we are not saying that everybody should be left off the hook to go and do community service, but at least those who are committed minor offenses, those who are not violent in nature and can live with us to serve their sentence, they should be allowed to do so, so that some of the challenges that we are facing in the system will be resolved. One of the challenges that we all know is reoffending.
Right.
People go in there, first-time offenders. I can talk about one of the situations that we came across as CHRI. We came across, we were paying for fines for petty offenders to be released. And then we came across somebody who has, he transferred money from his sister's phone. So he's stealing, without his sister knowing. And the amount I think he transferred was around 800 cedis. And then we met him. All he said was that, he needed to use to buy medicine for his girlfriend or so. But then it went to court and all that, and he was in prison. He was fined. He was actually fined to pay 1,200, and then in default go to prison. But somebody who doesn't have that kind of money and therefore has to steal it from the sister's phone, how will the person get to pay 1,200? So the person ended up being in prison. I was asking myself, this is between siblings, a brother and a sister. So after spending this 6 months, when the person goes back to the family, what will happen? So we are talking about reintegration. We are talking about after the person served the sentence and the person comes back, what are the effects that the community and the society tend to face from these kind of people? And this is a first-time offender. He goes there to meet a lot of hardened criminals. He goes there to learn certain skills or certain methods that he wasn't even aware of. And then he comes out to commit serious offenses as compared to what he did. So this is the main reason why we think that community sentencing should be practiced here, so that some of these minor offenders wouldn't end up being in prison and worsening the situation. Okay.
This is the law. It is your help law. It is your legal light. And we are discussing alternative sentencing. We have a system that appears to predominantly prefer sending people to jail. We are asking why that is so, and why not adopt what is becoming the best approach to, as it were, punishment. We spoke to you first on the streets, and you were unanimous that for minor offenses, and Esther just explained, minor non-violent offenses, some offenses can actually be be an issue of a mistake. You could commit a road traffic offense. It says you should pay a fine. You don't have that money, and then you go to jail. So I'll ask Martin to explain that a lot further to us, and why people should rather be doing community service rather than this. And as we always do on this show, we shall open the phone lines for you to join us. But remember to keep your questions and contributions directly on the subject that we are discussing today, which we intend to discuss in a couple more of episodes, bringing other views together, and to ask the question why Ghana is not doing this now. Now, Professor Kwashiga Edward, Kofi Kweshiga of the University of Ghana, former Dean of the Faculty of Law, spoke about this matter some time ago, many years ago, and he gave what he called the advantages of non-custodial sentencing. I'm going to project it and read some of what he says are the benefits and get your comments to them. So he says advantages of non-custodial sentencing. I'll skip number 1 and go to number 2. He says alternative sentencing options allow the judge to be flexible and to tailor the sentence uniquely to the offender and his or her crime. Mild sentencing may be seen as a more effective way of correcting an offender, particularly relating to first-time or minor offenses. In the case of minor offenses, neither the state, family, nor the criminal concerned benefit from custodial sentencing. Some of these you guys have already discussed. Non-custodial sentencing promotes social cohesion, integration, by allowing offenders to work, communicate with people, and live with their families at the same time. Non-custodial sentencing does not further alienate the offender from correct social behavior, unlike imprisonment. Non-custodial sentencing increases civic engagement and responsibility on the part of the offender. Non-custodial sentencing helps to build trust towards a system of social justice. Correctional labor allows offenders, that's community service if you like, correctional labor allows offenders to continue using professional skills and has a positive effect on their self-image. 10. Non-custodial sentencing avoids the stigma that attaches to imprisonment. Martin was focusing on that a while ago. Non-custodial sentencing is comparatively cost-effective. Esther was talking about that. And finally, non-custodial sentencing does not undermine the income of the offender's family, where he or she is the head of family or sole breadwinner. Martin, this is a lot. 12 advantages. What's your commentary?
Perfect. That's it. So you will see that this tells you that we stand to benefit a lot from non-custodial sentencing. Okay. Of course, as we said, under our law, currently our judges are doing quite a good job. They've been using the fines and the rest. Sometimes, you know, because we don't have the statistics, we are likely to make comments as if the system is too harsh on the accused persons. No, you meet some sentences and you see that hey, the judges are really on top of the game. Right. Okay, but when we are always seeking to improve, want to improve it because we think that we can help. Because the barber's example tells you that sometimes. So
take number 12 for example. Okay. That non-custodial sentencing does not undermine the income of the offender's family.
Excellent.
Where he or she is the head of family or sole breadwinner.
Excellent. Sam, when I was coming here, do you know the name that struck me? As if I knew you were going to ask me this question. I kept thinking about Dr. Ali Gabaz.
Right.
Medical doctor.
Yeah.
Medical doctor. You see, we don't have enough doctors. So his will not cover only 12. It will also cover the part about they can use their professional skills. 9.
That's right.
And then also civic engagement. And then alienate the...
does not further alienate the offender from correct social behavior.
6, 9, and so on and so forth. So Ali Gabaz will take 12, 9, 6, and so on. So that you see that he's a breadwinner. I mean, medical doctor, excellence and all that. But I think he's still in custody, right? He got such a hefty imprisonment.
I think something has happened in respect of his case. But whilst he was in custody, I don't know him to still be there. Yeah. Whilst he was there, he was used to teach. Excellent. He was teaching, you know, because, you know, the prison service is trying to ensure that people who like SS leavers or even people who still have JHS need to write their WASI. Those who need to write their basic education certificate, they are providing opportunities for them. Unfortunately, some write and they top, they get the best grades. But because their time is not up, they are still there.
Then we have to hurry up with the law so that we create a special dispensation for them to come out.
Right.
Good. So it shows that when he's head of family and he doesn't go into jail, he can continue to support the family. And that's always been one of my greatest fears. When I enter court and I see a very well-employed man going to jail, I'm like, what will happen to his wife, his children, and possibly nephews, nieces? I mean, because we all benefited from uncles taking care of us and all that. So when you see a good breadwinner going to jail quickly...
But that's the question. We still need to punish.
Yes, and as we've said, so we'll repeat that, please, it's not only the jail term that is punishment. As we've said, please, the stigma. And if you read Justice Doche once again, because he's the lead in this area, Frimpong alias Igbo man, and the other cases, you see them saying, your name, your name, your name. The naming and shaming, the stigma, all these, they are punishments. Because there are some women who see that once they know you are convicted, no, they won't date you. And so that is also punishment. So the stigma and all those things, we should put weight on that. And let's not forget, just one sentence.
But non-custodial sentencing is also actually supposed to remove that stigma. So if you look at point 11, it says non-custodial sentencing, 12, non-custodial sentencing avoids the stigma that attaches to imprisonment.
Excellent. Yeah, so that is it. And I can tell you, Sam, I do a lot of work in the juvenile area, those under 18. Some of them, because the judges dealt well with them, they've gone to uni, they finished, and they are useful members of our society.
All right.
I can't mention their names because the law, we have to keep it private. Some have finished uni. They are working. One is a teacher, the other one business administration. There are 3 university graduates, okay? You won't know. And you see, and those who keep saying they've not punished them, let's forget. Sometimes we are riding a very high moral, they say horse, a high horse that we ourselves cannot probably live up to that standard. People make mistakes. Let's give people a second chance. Everybody makes mistakes. So if the person makes a mistake and he can return the money, let him return it and avoid the jail term rather than go in there. Or even sometimes the robbery cases, that's one of the main areas to be looking at. You can just see that it was just a moment of indiscretion. The person has now regretted. So sometimes even robbery, despite the minimum of 10 years, we can break down.
So what form does a community sentencing take? But Esther wanted to say something before.
Yes, just add up to what Martin was saying in terms of whether community sentence even a punishment in the first place. Let's not forget that the person's time and liberty is taken away from the person.
Right.
The mere fact that you are not in prison doesn't mean that it's not a punishment. Because at the end of the day, once the court issued the order, you are expected to work for a particular time, period of time. And that time is not yours. And then it means that at that particular time, you are also supposed to be at a particular, where you are supposed to do the work.
Right.
So maybe, for instance, as a family, you will be having a funeral somewhere, you need to travel and go and do the funeral. But you cannot go. So that's where your liberty is curtailed. You cannot go.
Maybe the state is doing some construction work, and that is where you have been assigned. Exactly. So you go and carry the concrete.
Excellent.
Yes, right.
Yes, and do the work.
And so you don't get paid for it.
Exactly. It's an unpaid work. So you
are paying.
You are paying the state for the
you are paying the community.
All right.
So your time and liberty is actually taken away from you. So it is a punishment. I came across a story in Kenya. A woman was sharing her experience. She has served community sentencing. I think she's a widow. And then she sells alcohol and stuff. And then somebody came to her shop and something happened and they fought. And then so she was arrested and jailed for assault and all that. And I mean, for Kenya have community sentencing. So she was ordered to serve the community. And at that moment, she was assigned to a community hospital, a healthcare center, where she was helping them to clean, just clean and arrange the files and all that. By the time her term of sentence was over, the community actually employed her to serve as one of the cleaners there because of the conduct and everything that she put up. So she actually got something to do and earn to feed her family.
Right.
So I'm also adding on to the fact that your family, if you are the breadwinner, because being a widower, being a widow and then with children, I'm sure she was the breadwinner for the family. And therefore, because she was sentenced to community sentencing, she was able to still keep in touch with the family and help the family going as compared to keeping such a poor woman in prison.
Yeah. So like Martin mentioned, for Dr. Ali Gabas, he was a consultant, right?
Yeah.
And in the medical field, when they say consultant, it's almost like the peak of the profession. They are the ones who supervise other doctors, you know. And that is where he was when he got into sodomizing, so to speak, a young boy. And because of that, he was prosecuted and jailed. Now, if there was community sentencing, he could have gone to do community service where he will render his service and not earn for it. And then perhaps he will get some free time where he can now go do his own work, earn some money, and take care of his family. All right, so this is the law. It is your legal light. It is your help law. And we are looking at alternative sentencing or community sentencing and asking whether it is punishment. You have already said unanimously that it is the way to go. And this discussion is facilitated by the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative and is part of the U.S. Aid Justice Sector Support activity. The activity is being implemented by 4 organizations. That's the Legal Resources Center, the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative Africa Office, Crime Check Foundation, and Interregional Bridge Group, with funding support from the U.S. Aid. I'm going to open the phone lines now for you to join us. This is only the beginning of the discussion. Next week, we will do something and bring you the clear boundaries. When we say community sentencing, what exactly it is. Do the systems exist in Ghana that we can use to do community sentencing, among other things? So my guests for this afternoon are Esther Ahulu and Martin Kpebu. We will be right back when we take your calls. Okay, I'm told that I can go ahead and take the calls. Theo, where are you calling us from? Theo? Bupe? Let's hear you, Theo.
Hello, Samson.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Yeah, I want to applaud you for the work you are doing. This is it's great. It's great. And
thank you very much. We thank the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative and the U.S.
Aid. Samson, actually, you don't seem to understand how we behave as Ghanaians. You understand? How can someone still planting and you put the person in jail for 3 years? Why don't you make the person go and speak the truth? The Odona is so weak. Rubbish.
Okay.
How can we make the person to go and train the Odona?
Okay.
For number of months.
Yes.
At least this is something that can help at least distill the Odona.
Okay, thank you, Theo. You couldn't have said it any better. But my curiosity is that Theo is calling us from Bupe, and he's talking about the Odo.
Because it's such a filthy.
Right. He says the place is filthy, and we actually been employing people to try and clear the place. Ken, you are calling us from Kumasi. What do you have to say?
I'm saying good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ken.
Something for me, I want to contribute, which has to do with the fact that Ghana, to be precise, we copy the Western country, which of course we don't copy them the right way, or which we don't learn from them, but rather we copy the wrong thing. Then we do the wrong thing here. Instead of learning from what they do, which is actually the best, we don't do that. For me, I'll be very grateful if this discussion will not become zero discussion, but rather it will take into consideration and we implement it. Because something, a lot of people out there, in our prisons, are suffering just for a minor offense. You watch foreign movies and then you look at people committing offense and then they go around there, sweep around the compound or the surrounding, and it keeps the place genuine and clean. So I'll be very grateful if this discussion will be.
Thank you very much, Ken. Thank you, Ken. We'll do our best to ensure that this discussion is sustained and that the right quarters will pay attention and ensure that there is something to that effect. Is it Edie who is on the line? Okay, I think we have lost Edie there. Okay, so Jerry. Hello, Jerry. Hello, Jerry.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Good afternoon, Jerry. Let's hear you.
I just came back. I heard you talking about non-custodial sentences. My question is, in case somebody is given that sort of punishment, that is a non-considered sentence, where is the person going to be kept? Is he going to be kept in the cell where he will be going out for the communal services, or the person will be living in his or her house every morning or evening?
Thank you. That's a clear question enough. Whether you would have to live in your own home and do the service, or you have to be kept in some, holding place. Yes. Seth, you are calling us from Takoradi.
Hi, Samson.
Hi.
Good morning or good afternoon.
Afternoon. Let's hear you.
Yeah, I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. I recall, I think about 4 years ago or 5 years ago, I think 6 thereabout, I did some case in Obuasi, and it was just a minor domestic violence with assaults involved. And the guy had pleaded guilty and was about to be sentenced. Had it not been my intervention, he would have gone. And I looked at as I was coming back, I was thinking, this guy probably needed some counseling and other alternative arrangements for him to understand that, spousal abuse is wrong and such things like that. So there is no any other system in place where people commit crimes, they can be rehabilitated in society or giving alternative sentence other than just taking them to jail. So I think what you're doing is excellent. On a scale of 1 to 10, I think it's 11 over 10. Because in Canada, where I practiced before coming to Ghana, many times they do not go to jail. People do not go to jail unless it is quite heinous or serious. But otherwise, there are very rehabilitative measures or alternative measures in place to bring the person or the accused or the convicted person back to society.
All right.
So that he can contribute good to society.
Seth, this is what we'll do. Please, Seth, make sure my production keep a tap on your contacts so that we can have you join us, because we are doing this discussion for a couple of episodes. And we would like people like you with experience from practice in Canada, where this is done on a very high scale, to give education on how it is done. I'll take my very last call from Mark. Mark, you are calling also from Takoradi. Hello, Mark.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi.
Samson, I think it's a wonderful program you are doing. I want to say that community sentence, to me, might even be the harshest form of punishment for people who probably are shy or do not want people to know that they've been to, they are ex-convicts for that matter. Why do I say that? I've had the unfortunate situation of going to prison for 4 months. I had some issue with my company, and then I was taken there for 4 months. Apart from my family members and some very close friends, nobody else knows that happened to me. Okay, so I can walk in town and do everything. Probably if I'm a bad person, I might decide to go again. Okay, but I sit down and say that if probably they had given me a community sentence whereby I might have worked clean somewhere close to the market circle or anywhere in town, okay, the kind of should I put the term shame or the stigma that I might have felt might have compelled me to leave town. You see, but unfortunately for me, nobody saw it.
All right.
I'm back in town, going up.
That's a very good perspective that you bring to bear, Mark. Thank you very much. So there was a question that came in earlier. Thank you all for applauding. We would like you to continue to support us so that we'll be able to bring the show to you. Now, Martin, the question that was being asked to either you or Esther is asking, community sentencing, will this person still be in some custody and then be released to go and do the work, or they will do it from their home?
Do it from their home. Yeah, do it from their home generally. But it's also important that he stated this. Perhaps for those that don't have stable homes, that's interesting. Maybe we should begin to look at it, because you should have a stable home from which you come from to come and do it. But if you don't have one, then there's this matter of related topic of building safe halfway houses. So that instead of the normal in Sawam, private developers will develop theirs, then you stay there. So that at least we know that this is the area where you are, so that from that place you come and sweep and all that. So it's quite a good question, especially as a lot of people don't have addresses in Ghana. We should look at that aspect.
But generally, the system is that you live in your home.
Yes.
How do you enforce a compliance? We'll deal with all of this. I'm running ahead of myself. Yes, but give us a gist. Is it not difficult to enforce compliance? I have to get up from my home and go to the place where you have assigned me to go and serve. So if I get up and decide not to go.
Okay, no, but the person will have a supervisor.
Right.
It's not, I mean, you're not just left alone to do whatever you like. There is somebody supervising your work and submitting a report to courts to show that you are really doing what is expected of you. So if you go contrary to what the court expects you to do, then you can even be jailed afterwards, after going contrary to what the court has asked you to do. So it's not like you have left. That's why I'm saying you lose your liberty. Somebody supervises you. You report to somebody. The person do a report all the time and submit to court. So yes.
Thank you very much, Esther. This is from Charles Kpebu. He says that I want to applaud you and your panelists for the good job. Very educative and thought-provoking. I don't miss the show. God bless you. Learning a lot. Thank you, Alawa. Thank you. All right. So we are already out of time, but what will be your final comments as we get ready to return in the second episode to lay down the nitty-gritty of community sentencing and how it is doable or not in Ghana? Yes, Esther.
Okay, so I think my last words, what I want to say is that from all that we have heard, for indication, Ghana is ready for this to happen. So the ball is in the court of our leaders. They have to act, because from all the indications, for me, I don't know, for some reason, I had a little fear concerning how the people will accept these offenders working amongst them. But from all the response that we are receiving here, we are ready for it. Kenya is doing it. Zimbabwe is doing it. There's no way we cannot do it. We have to find a way, a suitable structure that will fit our context, so we can do it. Right. So the ball is directly in the court of our leaders to act. Right. And it's now for them to act. Thank you.
Martin, you have also been out there in the public with a lot of education, starting with the cases that you have gone to court to win, not for yourself, but for the benefit of all of us Ghanaians. When it comes to this particular issue, what will be your closing remarks?
So my closing remarks are that we should see how, you were on the RTI coalition, okay? You guys to maybe bring some experience to see how you can give this bill more traction. Because as I said, when they did the regional consultation, that was 2018 or latest 2019. Almost 3-4 years on, it's not moving fast enough. So we need more push. So maybe more hands on deck to push Jonathan and co, and especially to funding. Maybe we should do some crowd funding, to help push the system.
All right, thank you very much. This discussion is facilitated by the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative. It's part of the USAID Justice Sector Support activity, which is being implemented by 4 organizations: Legal Resources Center, Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative Office, Africa Office, Crime Check Foundation, and Interregional Bridge Group, with funding support from the USAID. And my guests have been Esther Ahulu, Programs Manager, CHRI Africa Office, and Martin Kpebu, lawyer and rights activist. I'm Samson Ladi Anyenini. Ibrahim of Crime Check, who couldn't join us, will join us next week. You know what he has been doing. He goes to the prisons and he helps to get people pay their fines, and then they don't serve jail terms. This is the law. It's your legal light. It's your help law. Have a good afternoon.